On Monday afternoon, northwest Houston was struck by a sudden violent storm that spawned a tornado, leaving a trail of destruction. In moments, ordinary routines were shattered as the tornado tore through neighborhoods like Willowbrook, Jersey Village, Fair, Klein, and Spring. Today, we'll break down what happened, the hardest-hit areas, and the rapid response from first responders. We'll also share stories of resilience and the community's determination to recover. Let's look at how this tornado changed lives in an instant. Here's how the events unfolded on that turbulent Monday. The day began with a tornado watch, routine but always unsettling. For residents of Willowbrook and Jersey Village, these alerts had become a familiar part of spring, but the tension in the air was unmistakable. People went about their morning routines, glancing at the sky and checking their phones for updates, hoping the threat would pass as it so often did. By 2 p.m., radar confirmed a tornado on the ground near Willowbrook and Jersey Village, turning warnings into reality. The National Weather Service issued urgent alerts, and the sky darkened with a menacing intensity. What had started as a distant possibility was now an immediate and terrifying threat. The area, filled with homes and businesses, was suddenly in the direct path of danger. Streets that had been busy with afternoon traffic and shoppers were now eerily quiet as people scrambled for safety. The sense of normalcy was shattered in an instant. Sirens blared, families rushed to shelter, and first responders braced for impact. In living rooms and hallways, parents gathered their children, pets were herded into bathrooms, and neighbors checked on each other. The community's emergency plans, practiced but rarely used, were suddenly put to the test. Willowbrook Mall and nearby neighborhoods faced the brunt, with lights flickering and winds howling. Rain lashed against windows, and the roar of the approaching storm grew louder by the second. For many, the only option was to wait and hope for the best. Emergency protocols activated instantly, and social media filled with images of swirling debris and the ominous funnel cloud. Videos captured the chaos as the tornado carved its path, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Friends and family frantically messaged each other to check in, desperate for news. The tornado's touchdown triggered chaos. 911 calls surged, and police, fire, and EMS rushed to assess damage and help the injured. Emergency crews navigated blocked roads and downed power lines, working against the clock to reach those in need. Major roadways like Highway 290 and the Sam Houston Tollway became hazardous, trapping drivers in terrifying conditions. Some motorists abandoned their vehicles to seek shelter, while others huddled under overpasses, praying the storm would pass quickly. The psychological shock was immediate. For many, this was a moment that split life into before and after. The fear and confusion were palpable as neighbors emerged from shelters to find their world changed in a matter of minutes. As the tornado moved on, the first phase of emergency response began, searching for survivors and assessing the devastation. Teams moved quickly, knowing that every second counted for those trapped or injured. Willowbrook and Jersey Village were left to face the aftermath, with the worst still ahead for some as the storm pressed northeast. The scale of destruction became clear as daylight returned, revealing shattered homes, uprooted trees, and businesses in ruins. The tornado's arrival was sudden and severe, marking the start of a long recovery for northwest Houston. For many, the road ahead would be filled with uncertainty, but also with the determination to rebuild. For these communities, the storm's impact was both physical and deeply personal. In the days that followed, neighbors leaned on each other for support, sharing stories of survival and loss, and beginning the difficult process of healing together. The tornado's next target was Fair's Riata Ranch subdivision, a close-knit community where neighbors know each other by name and children play in the streets. On an ordinary day, Riata Ranch is filled with the sounds of laughter and the hum of daily life, but that evening, everything changed in an instant. Within minutes, the peaceful neighborhood was transformed into a disaster zone. The roar of the tornado drowned out every familiar sound, leaving behind a trail of chaos and destruction. The Fair Fire Department arrived quickly, navigating blocked roads and fallen trees to reach the heart of the devastation. They found roofs ripped away, fences destroyed, and decades-old trees uprooted, landmarks that had stood for generations now reduced to splinters. Downed power lines and the sharp, unmistakable smell of gas created immediate, life-threatening hazards. Emergency crews worked swiftly to cordon off dangerous areas, knowing that even a single spark could trigger a new disaster. Residents were urged to stay inside and avoid live wires, while gas leaks forced some to evacuate their homes entirely. For many, the fear of what they might find outside was matched only by the anxiety of leaving everything behind. Emerging from shelter, families found their streets blocked by debris and power lines, their neighborhood unrecognizable. The familiar landscape was now a maze of shattered wood, twisted metal, and broken dreams. First responders began a door-to-door search, prioritizing safety and checking for injuries or trapped residents. Their presence brought a measure of reassurance, but also underscored the seriousness of the situation. The tornado's path was erratic, some homes devastated, others barely touched. The randomness of the destruction left many in disbelief. As neighbors compared stories and tried to make sense of the chaos, power outages spread across Cyfair, plunging entire blocks into darkness. Traffic lights failed, and major roads were clogged with debris, complicating rescue efforts and leaving many stranded or unable to reach loved ones. Yet, in the midst of the devastation, neighbors quickly came together, helping the elderly, clearing debris, and offering support. Acts of kindness and solidarity became the new normal, as people shared food, water, and comfort. Utility crews worked tirelessly to de-energize lines and repair the grid, often risking their own safety. The Red Cross set up shelters for displaced families, providing a safe haven and a sense of hope amid the uncertainty. For Riata Ranch, the tornado's strike was a turning point, revealing both the fragility and strength of the community. In the face of overwhelming loss, people found comfort in each other, forging bonds that would last long after the debris was cleared. The damage was widespread and severe, setting the stage for a massive recovery effort that would test the resolve of every resident. The road ahead would be long, but the determination to rebuild was evident in every handshake and every shared story. The spirit of Cyfair shone through, even as families faced a long night and an uncertain future. In the darkness, neighbors became lifelines, and hope flickered in every candlelit window. The tornado's impact here was a stark reminder of nature's power and the resilience of those who endure it. As dawn broke over Riata Ranch, the community stood together, ready to face the challenges ahead and rebuild stronger than before. The tornado pressed on into Klein, unleashing another wave of destruction that would leave a lasting mark on the community. As the storm roared forward, its power seemed to intensify, tearing through neighborhoods that had never before witnessed such devastation. On Summer Grove Circle, homes suffered catastrophic damage. Walls collapsed, roofs vanished, and lives were upended in seconds. Families who had taken shelter in closets and hallways emerged to find their homes unrecognizable, their possessions scattered to the wind. The force of the tornado was so great that even sturdy brick walls crumbled, leaving only memories where bedrooms and living rooms once stood. Near Luetta Road, both homes and businesses were battered, debris scattered across streets and storefronts. Local shops that had served the community for years were left with shattered windows and torn awnings, while cars were tossed and battered like toys. The once busy thoroughfare was transformed into a maze of wreckage, making travel nearly impossible for emergency crews and residents alike. Memorial Northwest neighborhoods saw towering pines snapped and fences obliterated, with personal belongings strewn everywhere. Yards that had been carefully tended were now unrecognizable, covered in branches, insulation, and fragments of neighbors' lives. The sound of chainsaws and emergency sirens filled the air as residents began to assess the damage. The Klein Independent School District sheltered students in place, creating tense moments for families awaiting reunification. Parents anxiously waited for word, their hearts pounding as they hoped their children were safe inside sturdy school walls. Teachers and staff worked tirelessly to keep students calm, distracting them from the chaos outside with stories and games, even as the storm raged on. The tornado's path was unpredictable, one house destroyed, the next untouched, leaving residents in shock. Some families returned to find their homes miraculously spared, while their neighbors faced total loss. This randomness added to the sense of disbelief and helplessness, as people tried to make sense of the storm's fury. First responders juggled gas leaks, downed lines, and reports of people trapped, prioritizing the most urgent calls. Firefighters and police worked through hazardous conditions, navigating blocked roads and unstable structures to reach those in need. Their quick actions saved lives, but the scale of the disaster meant that help could not reach everyone at once. The debris field was vast, and the emotional toll immense. For many, the sense of security was shattered. Families clung to each other amid the ruins, overwhelmed by the loss of homes, memories, and the familiar comforts of daily life. The community's spirit was tested as neighbors reached out to help one another, offering shelter, food, and comfort in the face of heartbreak. As night fell, power outages deepened the uncertainty, and the full extent of the damage remained hidden. Streets that were once filled with light and laughter were now cloaked in darkness, punctuated only by the flashing lights of emergency vehicles. Many spent the night without electricity, unsure of what the morning would reveal. The focus shifted to search and rescue, ensuring everyone was safe as the storm continued its rampage. Teams moved from house to house, calling out for survivors and checking on the elderly and vulnerable. Their dedication brought hope to those still waiting for news of loved ones. Klein's experience underscored the tornado's strength and the randomness of its destruction. The storm's path was a patchwork of devastation and survival, a reminder of nature's unpredictability and power. The community faced a daunting cleanup, but the resolve to rebuild was already taking root. Volunteers arrived with chainsaws, tarps, and supplies, working side by side with residents to clear debris and salvage what they could. Acts of kindness and generosity became the foundation for recovery. For Klein, the storm was a defining moment, one that would reshape lives and neighborhoods for years to come. In the aftermath, the community's resilience shone through, as neighbors supported each other and began the long journey toward healing and rebuilding. The tornado's final act unfolded in spring, where disaster struck twice. As the storm crossed Spring Cypress and Darrah Road, lightning ignited a house fire, forcing firefighters to battle flames amid tornado debris and high winds. Navigating blocked roads and downed power lines, crews worked quickly to contain the blaze and prevent further loss. For the family inside, surviving the tornado only to face fire was a double blow. Across Spring, trees and power lines fell, and neighborhoods suffered wind damage similar to earlier communities. The Spring Fire Department's swift response saved nearby homes, even as the storm raged on. Residents endured a terrifying crescendo, tornado sirens, lightning, and emergency vehicles converging at once. As the tornado weakened and moved on, the scale of destruction became clear: miles of damaged homes, uprooted trees, and shattered lives. Utility crews faced days of work to restore power and clear hazards. The fire at Spring Cypress symbolized the storm's unpredictable fury and the complexity of severe weather threats. For Spring, the day ended with a community forever changed, but united in recovery. The images from Spring, firefighters in the storm, ancient trees toppled, will not soon be forgotten. The tornado's path through northwest Houston left devastation, but also revealed the strength of its people. First responders acted heroically, and neighbors rallied to help one another. Recovery will be long, physically and emotionally, but the community's spirit is unbroken. Support from outside, through donations and awareness, remains vital. For all in storm-prone areas, preparation and vigilance save lives. As Houston rebuilds, the resilience shown will define its future.